You're all set.
Okay. Welcome to the Herkimer Central School District Board of Education special meeting Thursday, March 25th, 2021. We'll stand and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the list is public comment. Due to the current circumstances in our community regarding COVID-19 pandemic, our Board of Education meetings are being conducted virtually. Because of this, members of the public who wish to submit a comment to the Board of Education meeting had the opportunity to email prior to the meeting. With that being said, there was no public comment.
I did not provide you with any additional information for the board this week.
Next on the list is approval of the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. You got a motion. Diane, second. Rich. We'll make note that Mr. Petrucci's not here. All those in favor? 5-0. Next, board communications.
I didn't provide any, but I don't know if any of you have communications that you need to bring.
I do not.
Okay.
Next on the list is business reports.
We did add one item to the agenda tonight. We are creating a new account, a new savings account. And in order to do that, we have to ask for your permission. The reason is that when some of our staff members are writing grants nowadays, that the companies want that you're writing grants to, or the foundations want to EFT the funds to the school. So we're creating a completely separate account away from the general fund accounts that those funds would be wired into, and then would be wired out of that account into the general fund account. And that's the sole purpose of this account. Looking for a motion.
Diane, second by Michelle. Any discussion on that item? All those in favor? 5-0.
Item 6, the amended high-risk sports plan. I'm looking for a motion, and then I can tell you what's adjusted in it.
Get a motion. Diane, second by Rich.
So what happened was when we resubmitted to DOH after you guys approved it, they made some changes that they didn't make in the first one. And that was one of the things that's pretty trivial, that it has to be an EPA approved cleaner that we use, which of course we are already using. So that line was added to the report. The other is the Spectator Rule is 2 per athlete. And then it says, but the responsible parties must be cognizant of local gathering rules and can't exceed local gathering rules. So right now, the local outside gathering rule is 200. So you can't exceed the local gathering limit of 200 with 2 people per spectator. So if you're going to do that, you can't, you got to make some kind of system in place to control the gathering size to be 200. Does that make sense?
So it's whichever is the least number.
That's my understanding as of right now. There was an email out of state DOH today that may modify that, but I haven't gotten anything from local DOH that changes that. So what's the impact? And if there is a modification to that, we have a meeting, I think, before our first outside football game. So we could modify it again if we needed to. And we may be back to modify it multiple times. I apologize, but the rules change about every day. So that 200 is inclusive of athletes, coaches, officials, everybody. So my estimate for a football game is that there's about 100 people on the field. There's about 40 football players, plus or minus a bit, and then another 10 cheerleaders from our side. And then there's coaches, probably 10 to 15 more. And then the other side is roughly the same. So there is going to be between 40 and 60 people from each team and officials on the field. So that means there's only room for 100 spectators at a football game. And it's about the same for track. Some of the track teams are actually much larger than football teams. So if the rule stays the way it is now, the way DOH made us alter it for tonight, then we will only allow home spectators at football games and track meets, because we feel like that estimate of 100 on the field and estimate of about 100 spectators with only allowing home fields, it would stay within the 200 gathering limit. And I'll let the other schools in the county know that next week that we're supposed to project when this would happen and have a plan, and that's the plan that I would have. So other schools may or may not enforce it that way, but we will not, I will not exceed the gathering cap, particularly when DOH and our school physicians insisted that this language be understood. Questions?
So prior to our games that are being held in Herkimer, will the visiting AD know what our rules are?
My intent is to send out an email to cabinet next week after you guys approve the plan, informing them that track meets and football games will only have home fans.
Okay.
Because there's too many kids on the field. There's too many athletes and officials and coaches on the field in those events to allow for another 200 to 300. And obviously you can't have 300, but it's pretty big when you start. We talked about this. Rich and I talked about it with cheerleading and what that did, prior to the last meeting and at the last meeting. So it's touchy. What in terms of those numbers. So whether that number will change and be flexible, I don't really know. Like that's what I think could be changing over the next few days. Or over the next weeks, but our county's interpretation at this point is 200 max. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And we're working on a way to either tape or live stream, hopefully one or the other for football, like we did for soccer in the fall, so that even those that can't see it will be able to either see it live or see it at a later time. The issue out there is that the service is not great for hot points, and there is no hard wire to the press box. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's just one more on page 7 with the transportation. I wonder if we could amend the second paragraph that says varsity and junior varsity teams to include modified as well, just so that nobody has any issues with that.
Let me see page 7.
Yeah, it's just about transportation, but I don't want anybody to think that modified isn't going to have the same kind of travel as the varsity team.
True. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So we'll just amend it to say that modified, can we just say that appropriate modified transportation will be arranged or something? Because I'm not sure how many buses we'll need for that.
Sure.
Like some of the teams could be larger. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Any other comments, concerns from anybody?
Do we anticipate using our staffers as before in the stands? In prior football, in the old world, we had the they'd sign up for to be ushers or so forth in the stands. Are we going to need more of those to enforce these rules? Less? Does that add to the staff and the numbers? How's that going to affect?
We did staffing for soccer in the fall when we had soccer games at home or field hockey games, and I think we ran with 2 football games. You used to have staffers circulating on the outside because there was a lot more visitors. So
Yes.
It may not mean less or more, but we'll have the appropriate number.
Okay.
Does that make sense? They don't have to wander usually in and amongst the stands. Usually the person doing that was myself, actually, going in and enforcing rules in the stand and talking to people about their masks and addressing the questions. Because they did as well at times, but any of the difficult situations, usually it was myself or Ms. Paraguay that addressed there was an administrator there to deal with that. So, I'm sure I've been at every football game since I've been here, I think, other than maybe one. I'll be at football games. I'll be at most contests. I'm still going to most, like I'm on the road. We have an administrator. I'm on the road games for away basketball games right now. I don't get to every minute of those games, but I'm usually present for some portion of them. I'm missing one tonight because of this meeting. but we're trying to have administrative presence in all these venues because the COVID protocols do put the coaches in interesting positions at times.
Yeah.
So when we do this, when we do the motion on transportation, you guys are just going to approve it with we'll add approvable language for transportation for modification by the DOH so that we don't have to come back to you guys again.
Yeah,
It'd be general.
that's fine. Yep.
Perfect. And staffing, the staffing question, I think, is going to be, we're going to have to figure out what we need to get it done. I think with limiting it to just home fans, I think it'll be reasonably normal staffing levels.
Any other questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Next on the list is meeting evaluation, Miss Gilbert.
Well, I missed a little bit because my internet connection is weird today, so sorry about that. Other than that, I guess it was a good meeting. Had all the materials. Sorry, Susie, that you had to keep revising the agenda.
Welcome to the world of board meetings and COVID combined.
Do we have an executive session?
We do.
Okay. I move to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing promotion, retention of personnel.
So the motion, can we get a second? Diane? All those in favor? 5-0.
There'll be no more public action either after the meeting, just so the public's aware.
Okay.
And there'll be no action in executive session yet. Susie, you can shut the recording off and the live stream.
Okay.
Did you guys all get the invite? It was late for executive session.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect.